أتاني مرة نزق ليسألني بما دنت، فقلت له أنا رجل أحب الله يا أنت، أتسأل كيف منهاجي أما بالحق آمنت، عباد الله إخواني فكن منهم إذا شئت، وكن معنا على حذر من التفريق إن صنت.
لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد، إن الأصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. I bear witness there's no one worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the last and final messenger. And we send our blessings and salutations upon Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala wajma'een. And we also thank the people who came after the Sahaba and they worked hard for this religion. As you know, I saw a lot of excited faces yesterday because you were allowed to wear orange and you guys celebrated Harmony Day. To me, harmony is something different. To me, harmony is not to make everyone look the same, not put harmony in one color. I mean, I may sound political when I say this, but I think harmony is something where we appreciate everyone is different and we embrace that. And that's what Islam taught us. And today, I want to talk about harmony from Islamic perspective. And please don't get me wrong when I say, not to wear orange. I don't mean that, but I'm just saying it's my opinion that I think harmony is to accept everyone's differences. Before I start that, I really want to give you an example, and this is something that happened a long time ago. A friend of mine was invited in a forum by the local masjid. And when he came back, he enlightened me with what was happening in that forum and how that forum went about. One of the things he said, when he reached over there, they said to him, Imam, this is the priority list that we have prepared for the Muslims. And this is how we want, and what do you think about this? My friend said, when I looked at the list, the thing which was probably number 9 on the list was something number 1 for me. And the thing which was number 1 was probably the last thing for me. And so we all have different priorities. But one of the biggest principles as a Muslim that brings us close is the prime example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He commanded us so that we could carry out justice. And justice prevails over all harmonies, over all bullying, over everything that is around us, racism, you name it, equality, anything that you want to name it, justice prevails over everything. And I want to give you an example, and this is an example, you all, mashallah, you're all right, you think about Martin Luther King, and personally I would challenge all of you that you really like him and you know a lot about him, but I would still challenge you and say you don't know anything about him. Because really, his life is very detailed when you want to read about him. You know, one of the examples that he gave was, probably some of you know this example. He said people are of 2 kinds. One kind of people are like thermometers, and the other kind of people are like thermostats. There's a difference between both of them. And he explains the difference. He gives an analogy. When he gives this analogy, he says a thermometer is an instrument that captures or that tells you what the temperature is. But on the other hand, a thermostat is an instrument which allows you to change the temperature according to what your need is. Now before I go into that, I want to ask you who you are. Are you a thermometer that just measures whenever it's a harmony day, you hit 100 and you wear an orange shirt and you come out? Or are you a thermostat which thinks about harmony and which thinks about racism and bullying on a daily basis? And when you want to change the world, you think about it doing on a daily basis. And you know what, I want to talk about something which I was reading today, and also just a few days back, a very famous imam in America. His name is Shaykh. He actually spoke about this, and this was going back to Black Lives Matter. About 2 years ago, he did a speech. It was a very enlightening speech. If you do get hold of it, and you can listen to it on YouTube. And he does say there's very interesting things. One of the things he mentions in that, and I want to share that with you, he says that on the 7th of March, 1965, when the blacks gathered together, a number of 600 people, and that was the number that they were marching in order to get civil rights in America. Prior to that, it was slavery, and blacks were not considered to be human beings. They could not vote, they could not do a lot of things. In America, after that, the Constitution Amendment is that it talked about freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of race. And that was one of the constitutions that came about after that. He says when the blacks were marching and they were going from Alabama, in Alabama state, and when they started their march, when they were about to reach their destination, they were bloodied by the police because the police did not want them to carry on. And they were beaten up and they were thrown aside. But on that day, one thing amazing happened. And this was amazing that happened, and I want to leave you with 2 or 3 things today. And that is something that you want to do all your life. And my things are related to these stories. So he says in the night, when these black people sat down, Martin Luther King, who was leading this, he sat down, Junior. I don't mean Martin Luther King from the Vatican. I mean from studies of religion. You guys probably can connect to him. I talk about Martin Luther King the Junior. And so Martin Luther King says when we sat down on that night, ABC was showing a movie. And that movie was called Nuremberg. ABC, what it did, it decided to stop the movie and show the carnage that had happened in the morning. And when they showed that carnage, how the black people were abused and they were beaten up and they were not allowed to carry on, it was amazing. The next day, about 2,500 people came out to march, and most of them being white. Now I want you to stop over there and think, why was this? And you know, mashallah, you all love social media. All of you, ranging from year 3 onwards, that sit over here, at least have 1 or 2 gadgets that connect you to internet. So what am I giving you? That movies, images are powerful. Speak your stories of justice through these images. They're powerful. It worked in 1965, and that was their bill, that they were able to vote and they were able to change. And as you all know, in America, there was a black prime president that was last term. Unless America decided to vote for a monkey, I excuse my language, but prior to that, they had a human being as well. and that was a black human being. So really, that history was written in 1965. And so images make a difference. You guys have the power of social media. Use it to raise your voices. And that's how you make difference. And you know what? You'd be amazed. When I was listening to this speech, and I want to reflect on that speech. When I was really listening to that speech, I was so amazed. Black people, even when they were given the rights to vote, they had a voting test. And you know what that test was? This test was out of this world. They had to write on a question paper how many bubbles in a can of Coke. That was the question they had to answer. How many bubbles are there when you open the can of Coke or when you open the bottle of Coke? So you can imagine, even after they were given rights, it was that the law was in a way so they could not vote. Now that's the first thing that I want you to do in your life. And that's what I want you to take. Now I want to talk about another incident. Again, America, although we're Australians, you know, we have things that we've done, but American stories really please me. This is a story about Abdul Qadir Umar. Abdul Qadir Umar in 2011 was fired from his job. Probably he looked like me from the article that I was reading. He had a long beard and he was working for Federal Express in their dispatch unit. Apparently, an American Anglo person who was the boss, he came and he didn't like the way he looked. And he said to him, "Shave or don't come tomorrow." And Abdul Qadir Umar said, "You know what? I'd rather not work for people who do not understand." And you live in in America where the Constitution says there's freedom of religion. I'd rather not come to work. And he took them to court. And when he took the Federal Express to court, he won a compensation of 16,000 American dollars. And on top of that, he was also allowed to go back and work for FedEx. Why? Because he knew the law. He knew what the law of the country says. And that's my second point that I want you guys to know. Learn the law of this country. Learn to know what your rights are. Learn to know how can you make a difference by knowing the law of the country. There are many things. I mean, to keep a beard or to wear a hijab, there's many stories. Or to build a masjid in a community. You probably heard stories that you can't build a masjid in the community. Why? Because the community doesn't like it. Let me tell you, in the Constitution of Australia, that where we stand, we also have rights to freedom to practice our religion. We have the right to worship. We have the right to assembly. And if a council decides, because they are too white, and I don't mean white when I say that word. I do not mean to talk about every race. I'm talking about the people who do not consider me or people who are not white to be human beings. So I clarify that. And if the people decide that I cannot have a place where I cannot go to a Muslim school or I cannot pray in a masjid, then we need to know the law of the land and we need to know our rights. So the two things that I want to give you today is use social media and stand up for justice. And the second thing is that know the law of the country. And these are the things, these are real stories that we're speaking about. And you know, everyone wants to hear your stories. We all want to make a difference. You know, you want to do wonders of the world. But subhanAllah, when I look at this jama'ah, I love you guys. You talk about you want to make a difference, you want to do that. And I'm sorry that I'm bagging on some people that last year, we have so many feminists, and when I say feminist, students. I mean the students who stand up for the rights of women, and they always talk about how they want to make a difference in the lives of the women. Me and a teacher from this school were standing up for the rights of the women, for the community. Why? Because we wanted to be heard. We wanted to be allies of this social justice event. And guess what happened? All these loud students who are so-called women, they decided not to come. Why? Because it was 7 o'clock in the morning and it was disturbing their sleep. And that's what Muslims have come down to. We're not going to march for our rights. Why? It's too early in the morning. I'd rather be on social media and making a difference by saying hashtag chicken curry. So really, I'd rather be doing that than coming to a march. I ask everyone really, that hashtag all lives matter, hashtag harmony matters. And that's what I ask everyone. Stand up for social justice. Don't be slack in what you're doing. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفر الله إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. One of the things that we need to remember, that we're still in the khutbah and the hadith of Rasulullah, even if you spoke a word or even if you did an action to the person next to you, then your Jum'ah is expired. And you know when you say expired, when a bread is expired, you cannot eat it. If you eat it, you get unhealthy and you need to see a doctor. So while you're sitting over here, if your Jum'ah is expired, that means you cannot really get the benefit out of it. And you've been here for the last 20 minutes and you've listened to my speech and you lost all that just by asking or having that laugh or telling something that you wanted to say. Really, we talk about social justice, but we cannot show adl to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is justice to Allah. When you come to khutbah, you listen to it. That's justice. You want to make a difference in the world, we want to talk about harmony, but where is the harmony of Jummah? That the person who came and he was praying next to you, he came so he cannot be disturbed. Where is that harmony? Where is that justice when you started speaking and you destroyed his his Jum'ah as well, and yours as well? Where is that harmony and justice now? Really, we need to work hard. We are talking about, and I apologize, I'm talking about bigger things. I forgot, we need to fix our salahs first. We need to fix how to wash our hands. I apologize that I spoke about the whale. We don't even know how to take the thorns out from a fish, and I'm giving you a whale to eat. I apologize for that. Really, I have to apologize for that. I have been talking about matters which are bigger than you, something that you don't even want to do in your lives. I'm not like that, and I said that. Don't make Islam a mocking thing. This is your religion. You should stand by it. We have to think about our religion. You know why we cannot prosper as a community? Because we cannot even fix our basics. Let alone, let's talk about how to make a difference in the community. We can't even fix our salah. Most of you, my time in this school, 3 years and 3 months now, and I've been talking about salah on a daily basis. I mean, if I can't fix the salah of the students, definitely I'm saying I'm taking responsibility. Definitely there's something wrong in me. But at the same time, take the responsibility that you don't want to fix yourself. I end on this. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. So we were chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that to take humanity out of darkness and to guide the humanity and to encourage good and to forbid evil. But when we don't even know how to forbid evil ourselves, and we can't even show the basic manners how to come to the house of Allah, then how are we going to talk about the bigger issues in our life? How are we going to make those differences, which are the biggest differences in our lives? You know, we need to really think about where we are. Maybe I am talking too much of a higher level. Maybe I should just talk about next khutbah, inshallah, about the steps of wudu, and we should end it there, inshallah. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا بفضلك شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك فإنه يذل من ولعيت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت لا منجى منك إلا إليك لك الحمد على ما قضيت نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك اللهم بارك لنا رجب وشعبان اللهم بارك لنا رجب وشعبان وبلغنا رمضان يا رب العالمين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار أقيم الصلاة